Hey everyone, Jason Owens here for Campaign Sauce Digital Marketing. Thank you so much for joining me today for this case study that we're walking through on site speed. Now, if you're having trouble with a sluggish site or if Google is really starting to penalize your site, we may be able to help you. In fact, we were able to help this client of mine, and we're going to walk you through this case study. We're going to share with you some of the secret sauce, not all of it, but some of the secret sauce here on what we did to help this client end up getting much faster site and passing all of the hurdles that Google was throwing at us. So let's dive in. So here's what we noticed. The client was having just a fair amount of issues here on site speed, and you can see there are three different dates. There are 173 seconds for load time, 85 seconds, 105 seconds. I mean, these are some ridiculous load times, right? So something is clearly going on here with the site. And after we got to digging into it, it was not just something, it was some things, right? There were multiple issues going on here. So let me show you what the baseline is. So you guys have probably seen this tool before. It is simply just called Page Speed Insights there from Google. And that is you can just look it up, obviously, and go straight to it. And you pop a URL into this guy and hit Analyze, and it'll give you kind of a report card for the site. And then, of course, with a little bit more digging in, you'll be able to find out kind of what's going on or what they recommend. And you can see here that I went ahead and put basically did a little bit of screen magic here. So right now the mobile speed is 18, and then I went ahead and pasted on the exact same report here for desktop. So you can see the desktop speed is 42. Notice both of those scores are down here in the red, right? So clearly if it's red, that's bad. We need to do something. So again, this is just me going in and doing a bit of a baseline and trying to figure out where in the world are we? And then more importantly, how in the world did we get here? So once you know that, of course, getting out is much easier. So continuing on. So here we are. This particular client is in the ministry space. Okay, so that's what they do for a living. And I went through and just looked up three other competitors, three well-known names, right? So here's my client, obviously redacted for privacy. Their mobile score 17 and 42. Andrew Womack Ministries, not coming in much better. Joyce Meyer, Joel Osteen, again, some really big names in the ministry world. Mobile scores aren't really killing it, right? So maybe this world overall just doesn't really care that much about mobile. All right, desktop score. So there's my client back at 42. And okay, so desktop 74, 67, 75. So the competitors are doing fairly well on desktop. I wonder what they're doing differently, right? So again, just from a plain Jane benchmarking standpoint, you can just go back and use that same page speed analytics tool from Google and go in and just look up some of your competitors. All right, so when we looked at this particular client's site and tried to figure out what in the world is causing us to have such tremendous lagging times of loading. And we can see here that this guy 1600 milliseconds, right? That's almost 2 full seconds, right? Kind of coming close to 2 seconds there. What is it that's bogging it down? Stripe. Well, that's a payment processor. And I just ran this on the homepage. Wow, we're loading Stripe on the homepage? Well, due to one of the plugins that my client was using at the time, every time the homepage loaded, they were loading a payment processor. Again, that's just kind of the way that the site had come to be. Clearly, it was enacting a pretty heavy price on this website. All right, so let's go on. So I ended up recommending to this client, and again, just a little bit of screen magic here, but this is a kind of proof of concept for my client of, hey, let's turn off that old plugin, which is up here. You can see we turn it off. And this is what your site would look like if we use something like DonorBox. Now with DonorBox, you get all the same functionality, but this functionality lives on some other site. It doesn't live on your site. So that's the difference between using an embedded form versus a plugin, right? So we were able to get all of this same functionality and ended up converting the client over to DonorBox. And that helped out a tremendous amount just from a page speed loading standpoint. Another thing that we did was we went in and took a look at how many plugins are up and running on this site. Yeah, you're seeing that number correct, folks. 41 active plugins on this site. Again, that's just the way things came to be. You have some, you hire some contractors to do some stuff, and they have their favorite plugin, so they load it. You have other contractors that you work with, they have their favorite plugins, so they load them. So, I went through and I was just analyzing, good night, we have different payment processors in here, we have different sliders in here, image sliders, all kinds of image sliders. How in the world do we have 4 different image sliders on here? Well, you have a site over time and you have different people getting their hands into it. That's just the way it happens, right? Totally normal unless you have some type of management or oversight on it. So anyway, we ended up looking at the plugins and wow, just went through and just had to go ahead and remove a lot of these active plugins that were in here. So let me show you just a couple of the screen captures here. So we're again doing kind of that baseline score of, on this particular day, the mobile score was 17, the desktop score started out at 31, back from the page speed insights. And what's going to happen is you're going to see me load more and more numbers here in this table as we turn off these respective plugins, okay? So we turned off a sign up form plugin. Didn't really do a whole lot, really. I mean, bump the mobile score, you can say that's probably noise. Didn't really do a thing to the desktop. All right. We paused a donation plugin. Remember before I said that there was a plugin that we had? When we paused it, holy cow, look what happened. Mobile score didn't tweak much, but wow, the desktop score sure did. I mean, that's sizable, right? Okay, so let's see what else happens. We ended up turning off another plugin here. This is WooCommerce, which my client wasn't even using WooCommerce to sell things. It was just included in the theme. So, all right, you thought maybe that would give us something? Not really. Okay, so we just keep on moving. We turn off the Stripe gateway. Look what happens here. So here's Stripe. This is what we were loading all the time on the homepage. Every time that site loaded, it loaded here. So we turn that guy off. Look at the bump we get. So with just turning off a couple plugins, we go from 31 to 65, right? We've more than doubled the desktop speed. Still not really moving the mobile speed much. Well, let's keep going. All right, so we turned off again another payment gateway for WooCommerce. We got another bit of a boost out of that. Now we go into these image sliders, right? So I just turned off all these image sliders and thinking that was going to give us a huge boost. Not really. Again, mobile throughout all of this isn't really moving a whole lot, right? So now let's go ahead and check this out. There was a store customizer plugin for WooCommerce. Turned that off. Didn't really get much out of that. And then we had a couple contact forms in here, right? Those sign up, come on for, give me your email and I'll send you my newsletter, that kind of thing. So we turned that off. Now look at the bump that we got. Significant bump on mobile, significant bump on desktop. Okay, so again, I think there were 2 different plugins here that we turned off. But look at that mobile score. What we started out with was 17 all the way up to 48. Desktop started out at 31, moved to 78. Okay, so now we kind of go back to, all right, well, we kind of needed some of these plugins, right? We need a payment gateway so that we can take payments and donations. We kind of need a sign-up form so that we can build our email list. Now what are we going to do, right? So anyway, it's kind of a balancing act sometimes, right? And you just have to know that, okay, yeah, definitely we need subscribers, want subscribers. As we turn this on, what kind of hit is that going to give, right? I mean, what do we have to pay in order to get those signups? So anyway, it's just one of those things. And do we have to have this on the homepage? Okay, maybe not. Okay, there are other site designs that are out there that you don't necessarily have to have a sign up form on every homepage load. Okay, so again, lots of architecture discussions here. Okay, so this is a series of screen captures. I went over to my client site, loaded up the first page, loaded up the homepage, took a screen capture, scrolled, loaded up that page, took a capture, scrolled again, loaded up that page, took a capture, right? So I'm capturing my client's site from, basically top to bottom here. In this case, I think there's maybe 7 or 8 different scrolls, and that wasn't even all of it. So yeah, here we are. Okay, so this is 7 of 16 total scrollable pages. Well, what is on this homepage? 3 embedded videos are on this homepage, 1 sign-up form, 1 donation form, okay? There's a lot happening on this homepage. Well, let's see what's happening with some competitors. Okay, so let's go ahead. So here is Joyce Meyer Ministry, right? You saw this earlier in the table. So the entirety of the homepage is only 3 scrolls, okay? A lot of that is in this monstrous footer here. but really kind of a tight homepage. 0 embedded videos, 0 sign up forms, 0 donation forms. Okay, much lighter homepage here as far as design goes. And mobile score, again, not really killing it. Desktop score significantly better than what we were seeing over here on my client's site. Okay, so now that's just the home page. Now let's look at, say, an article, right? So we were looking at some competitors and we went in, looked at a couple home pages here. Now let's go in and look at some articles on their site. So here's Andrew Womack Ministries. Notice this guy, really light, okay? Lots of text, no images, no video, no sign-up forms. I mean, it's just super light over here. Again, here's my client's site, and this is, again, just one page. And I think, in particular, this was a podcast episode that was here. And then we found something from Proverbs 31. Look at how nice and clean this is, right? This is the entirety of a podcast post on Proverbs 31 Ministries, right? Nice and light, okay? Just the player, a little bit of notes, and a footer. I mean, that was it. Well, let's look at the mobile score here. So this page for Andrew Womack Ministries, mobile score was 32. Desktop score, blazing 87, right? Really good desktop score. And again, you can kind of see that there are 0 images here. There's not really a whole lot going on. On my clients, however, this is a podcast post, 32 images. We have the podcast player. We have an image slider. We have 3 videos that are embedded. We have the sign-up form still, and we have a donation form. All of this is happening in the course of a podcast page. So on this particular podcast episode, the mobile score was 19, desktop speed score of 25. Look at this nice and light page over here for Proverbs 31. Again, not killing it on mobile, 17, but desktop score of 81. I mean, look at this guy. There's hardly anything here, right? So, again, page architecture has a big deal, a lot of leverage, right? So, and it's possible that if my client trimmed out a lot of this extra stuff, that this guy would be nice and light as well. So again, had some recommendations there about how you construct a podcast post. And obviously you can see lean and mean gets you there a lot quicker. Okay, so let's go on. So what are some of the recommendations? Well, let's go ahead and get rid of all these unnecessary plugins. Okay, move this donation plugin from the sidebar over to a donation page, right? And again, even on the donation page, the bulk of the weight of this donation functionality happens on somebody else's site. So that makes it really nice. We're going to go ahead and move the sign up subscribe plugin from the sidebar, right? So it doesn't need to be on the home page. If you want to go ahead and subscribe, go ahead over here to our subscribe page. And again, there's pros and cons there. Well, gosh, if you have it on the home page and people can subscribe right there, won't you have a higher opt-in rate? Again, it's a balancing act. Yeah, you probably will have a higher opt-in rate, but you're going to slow down your site tremendously too. So again, you just kind of have to play that balancing game there. All right, next thing here is remove the video embeds from the sidebar. When you have a video, a scrolling video, or any kind of video, frankly, in your sidebar, it's going to load every time that sidebar loads. And the way that the client had the architecture of that homepage at the time is the sidebar loaded every 10 to 11 time the homepage did. So again, there's a lot of weight there and slowing down the site, probably more so than it really needs to. All right, what's next? So on the posts, 1 video embed per article. Okay, there were some times when I went through the articles, there were just multiple video embeds, right? Even if it's a YouTube embed, still, that's a lot for every time you render that page, you still have to render that embed. And again, there are some tricks that you can do there, but still, if you have it down to 1 per article, that's going to help you a lot. And then images. This particular client loved having images. Now, when we went back and looked at some of the competitors, you saw some of those competitors didn't have any images on some of their pages, right? So anyway, those images, again, it's all a balancing act, right? You pay the price for it when you have them, but do they have a function? Well, sometimes they do. Okay, more. So let's go forward here on some more recommendations. In the intermediate phase, so again, we had stuff, the last page there was about things you could do just like right away. Super low hanging fruit, do it now, see instant result. Intermediately, we need to go through the mobile theme. Upgrading the mobile theme would help a lot. We had an existing header image up there on the top of the mobile, probably wasn't really giving us a whole lot of mileage. And the fact that it was not only a header image, but that it was an image slider, Again, really, are we getting that much value out of that guy? Probably not. Remove all sidebar elements. So again, we had tons of the original post had a lot of sidebar elements to it, even showing up in the mobile, right? So let's get rid of all of that and just go straight with a post. And a client had this give now. I'll just call it a shield. It wasn't really a button. It was kind of like this shield, and it never moved. You could scroll the content as much as you wanted to, but that thing never moved. It was kind of, I don't know, a bit annoying, frankly. But anyway, I don't know that we were getting much bang for the buck out of that. So as we go through and we start doing some of these improvements, notice what happens to our page speed, right? Page speed is 80 on this one, right? And see here that this is on the mobile. So again, Google Page Speed Insights, went back to the home page. Wow, not too bad. Not too bad, okay? Looking good. And look at our total blocking time now. It's green, 70 milliseconds. So if you remember before, that blocking time, we had a lot of other things, plugins and all that. We had the payment gateways were being loaded there. Total blocking time was huge then. Now we're down to really nice and light 70 milliseconds. That's nice, right? Anytime you can start seeing green, when Google starts showing you green, that's not a bad day. Okay, so let's keep moving. What else do we have? Okay, so when we make a whole bunch of changes, we can then resubmit this site to Google and say, hey, Google, go take another look at this. You've been giving us nasty grams and warnings and emails about how different things are going on with the site and we're out of compliance, whatnot. Things are loading too slow. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how things looked. All right, so before we resubmitted to Google and asked them to take another look at it, notice we had 0% good URLs. Okay, again, this is over here on the Search Console. There's a tab you go into on this report, and it's called Page Experience. So we're in the mobile area of the page experience inside of the Google Search Console. So 0 good URLs, 611 failing URLs, right? Tons of failing URLs as they were just too dang slow to load. All right, so we're going to keep going here. Desktop, again, 0 good URLs, 612 failing, okay? So lots of failure here. And pretty much the exact same look whenever we went into Google Search Console and we went to the core web vitals. There's the 611 mobile, right? So just really bad URLs here. 612 poor URLs on desktop, okay? So we're going to see the new and improved version of this slide here in a few minutes. And one of the big issues that we had whenever we went into, well, what makes this a poor URL? Well, your page speed is longer than 4 seconds to load, okay? So if you take longer than 4 seconds, well, then you're going to get flagged. So again, tons and tons of poor URLs here. All right, so now after we do a lot of the fixes to it, our old aggregate speed on the site was 6.3 seconds. Notice how our new aggregate speed is 3.1, okay? Really nice improvements here. So we're happy with that. Now let's go ahead and have Google take another look at the site and what is it going to start telling us. So again, before. So here's mobile before, mobile after. Whoops, let me go back here. So before, again, 611 failing URLs. Here we are after. Notice our core web vitals are good. Mobile usability is good. Okay, something's happening here. We still need to get good URLs showing up here, but at least now we're showing some green. It may be another couple days before we start seeing some activity here. All right, so good news. So here we are, mobile. So if you guys remember, these were our poor URLs. So watch what happens here. This is great. No, this is what it's all worth right here, right? So all the work that we did. Notice here our poor URLs go down to 0. Notice over here how it says poor URLs 0. We went through a bit of a phase while Google was reevaluating this. They said, okay, some of these pages aren't looking so bad, but maybe they still need some more work. Let me take some more time to look at these guys, right? So we see the yellow, so we had a fair amount of the needs improvement, right? So a lot of these guys went from poor, went from red over here to needs improvement, yellow, and then Google came in and did some more work and said, oh, hold on, boom, 695 good URLs, right? I mean, that's exciting, okay? Whenever you can have that kind of speed improvement for your client, that is a big deal, right? So the good news is that with all of the improvements that we talked with you about here earlier, plus some of the secret sauce that we added in, we are able to really get this client back over into a really good positive territory. All right. So with that, I will go ahead and move this case study out to an end. And listen, guys, I really, really appreciate you taking time here to listen to the case study. We enjoy doing this kind of work here at Campaign Sauce. And if you need any site speed improvement, by all means, please reach out to us. We would be more than happy to help you. My name is Jason Owens. Take care, everyone.